everyone. So what I want to do this week is to walk you through step by step once again, and I've done this before, so go back and look at week 4 if you're having questions, but also you can use this video to help you to create your SMART goal based on how your student did in Let's Go Learn. So I'm going to share my screen with all of you. Let's start here. Okay. So we know that in order to have SMART goals, our SMART goals have to be specific, measurable, achievable, results oriented, and time bound. So we have to have all of those parts: specific, measurable, achievable, results oriented, and time bound. So let's go and look at our friend Ellie. All right, so I'm going to get myself logged in. And once I'm logged in, I'm going to go over here to scores and reports. So right here up at the top, scores and reports. And then based on what your student actually worked on, that's going to tell you whether to look at Active Pulse ELA or Active Pulse Math. So if you decided to do math, let's go and look at math, because that's what I did with Ellie. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to see that so many people have worked on this. Okay. But let's look specifically at Ellie. So we know that when we're looking at all of these different pieces, that the grade level that we see here, that 4.24 or whatever grade the student might be in, is going to kind of tell us what this student specifically needs to work on. We're going to look at scores that are lower in comparison to their grade level, as opposed to things that are higher. But for Ellie, I noticed this 1.6 here, and this is really concerning to me because she's a 4th grader and she's only performing at about a mid-first grade level in number sense. So I'm going to go up here and I'm not going to look at this summary. I want to look at numbers and operations. And now I'm going to see a little bit in greater detail where Ellie is actually struggling. And I can see this one right here, she's at 1, and this one right here, she's at 0. And then these NT just show that she wasn't tested on that. So we're looking at things like place value is a concern for Ellie. And the other concern for Ellie might be addition and comparing and ordering numbers. So now that I know that, I want to think about math in general. Now, in order for a student to be able to do double-digit addition, what do they have to know first? They have to know place value. They have to know about numbers that are in the ones place and the tens place. So if I go and look at Ellie, and now I'm going to go down here to where it says reports, and I specifically want to look at the special ed report. And when I look at Ellie, I can see that here's some concerns that we have for Ellie, that she can identify the correct word to correspond with a number. Great. We know that if she sees the number 1, she knows that that's a 1. Good, awesome. But for place value, she has no mastery of the first skill in the place value subtest. That's a concern. She also can compare single-digit numbers. Okay, we're doing okay there. She can subtract multi-digit numbers without regrouping. So if she doesn't have to do that regrouping part, then she's all right. And then she also can identify fractions using manipulatives as part of a whole. Right. So I'm going to look at place value with Ellie. So what I'm going to ask, and this, again, this is just numbers and operation. If I wanted to see how she did on measurement, I could see measurement, I could see geometry, I could see data, and I also could see algebra and how she's doing in algebra. Probably not real great. But look at her data. Look at this here. She can identify the likelihood of certain events. That's at a grade level of 3.9. That's pretty good, seeing as she's a 4th grader. So we know she has some skills. So we're going to go up here. We're going to go back to numbers and operations. And we're going to make this into Georgia standards because we want to align to Georgia standards, right? And I'm going to ask it to tell me 3 instructional skills. Remember when we did our Let's Go Learn training. We talked about how we can see specific instructional skills. What skills does this student need to work on in order to get closer to grade level? So I'm going to ask for 3 because we only have about 5 to 6 weeks to work with our students. We're not going to get those we're not going to be able to get to 5 or 6 skills in this short period of time. So I'm going to refresh it. And now I can see, and we're going to go specifically to place value, that Ellie will identify, okay, think goal, Ellie will identify place value in 1 and 2 digit numbers. Okay, that's a really good place to start, right? So we want to start here. Then we want to go up 1, which would be Ellie will identify place value in up to a 3 digit number. So if we do those 2 things and master those 2 things, we're going to bring her up 40%. And that's really going to help her. Now, here's the important part. Is this a SMART goal? Well, I would venture to say it's not. And the reason why is right now it's not measurable. So my job as a teacher, and I want you to go back to week 4 and pull up the PowerPoint from week 4, the Nearpod from week 4. And I want you to look at how we talked about goals and how we talked about writing goals. Because now I've got a way to start with Ellie. And I'm going to start with place value. So if I say, when given an assignment, Ellie will identify place value in 1 and 2 digit numbers with limited support, so limited support from her teacher, in 3 out of 4 trials with 100% accuracy. Okay, so now I know that I'm giving Ellie the number, and she has to identify the number in the ones place, and she has to identify the number in the ones place and the number in the tens place, and be able to tell me that 25 is 20 in the tens place, so 2 tens and 5 ones. And that's what she needs to be able to tell me. And if she can tell me that in 3 out of 4 trials with accuracy, then she's met her goal. So now we have something to go back to when we're thinking about where Ellie needs to be. And now we have something to start working on. So this week, what I want you to do is I want you to write your SMART goals. You should have 2 for your students. Okay. So for Ellie, I'm going to do the first place value, the 1 and 2 digit numbers, and I'm going to do the identify place value in and up to a 3 digit number. So those 2, I'm going to make into SMART goals for Ellie. And then that's what I'm going to work on with Ellie. Okay. So once you have your SMART goals written and you've done your initial assessment, you should be ready to start working with your student in your placement. So I'm hoping that by the end of this week, everyone will have their SMART goals written, and they may have already met with their student for the first time working on their new strategies. If you have any questions, I will be this week in Gainesville, and I will be in Dahlonega for my students. So if you want to meet this week, I will be there during those 2 times. Also, if you want to meet with me 101, I've had a lot of students start to do that. If you want to just run your SMART goal by me, I'm happy to look at it and give you some great immediate feedback on it. Okay, have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you next week.